Ladies and gentlemen, this is an interview with Alvin Salmon. Alvin was born November 1960 in Jamaica, the youngest of 7 siblings at the time, 4 sisters and 2 brothers, but another sister was born 10 years later. His parents left Jamaica for England early 60s. Father went first, followed by mother in 1965. Alvin and his siblings were left in the care of his maternal grandmother. Eventually, all the children joined their parents in England, with the exception of the oldest brother. Alvin, being the last to leave, left Jamaica in 1968, a few months before his 8th birthday. He traveled on his own and was looked after by a stewardess for the journey. Alvin was met at Manchester Airport by his mother, but unfortunately he did not know who she was. He was then taken to the family home in Crewe, where he spent the next 12 years. Alvin attended junior school and secondary school in Crewe, but he deliberately failed his 11th class because he didn't want to go to grammar school with the toffs, as they called them in those days. Alvin later learned that it was a bad decision. Alvin left school in 1977 and struggled to get a job due to racist attitudes. Eventually got one, which was the worst job in the world. He then worked for British Rail before joining the RAF in December 1980. He left the RAF after 6 years and joined Greater Manchester Police Force and retired after just over 26 years service. Alvin went into acting, doing film and television background work, but also pursued his interest in photography, gaining a licentiate of Royal Photographic Society qualification. Now he's just enjoying life, playing football, going to the gym, and generally doing what he wants. Alvin, good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Don. Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, man.
Good. Yeah. I don't ever fail to thank people for doing this, because there are a lot of people that I ask to participate in this Forgotten Generation project in terms of an interview, especially a visual one, and there are a lot of people who say no. So I always say thank you for those who say yes. So thank you.
Oh, it's always good to tell a story.
Yes. I know you got one to tell, so let's tell it to the crowd, right? So, as usual, we're just going to do some background sort of information. Starting off is, can you tell us about your early years and where you were born and lived?
Right, so we come from a place called Jacksontown in Trelawney. And it's funny because when my mum used to say, when you ever ask anyone who comes from Jamaica where they come from, everybody comes from Kingston. but we don't. We come from the country, okay? And we're kind of pleased about that. So we come from Jacksontown in Trelawney, small town in that parish. And Trelawney is like it's the what they call the farming, the feeding country of Jamaica, if you like. That's where all the food stuff, or the majority of the food stuff, come from. Right. And it's where Usain Bolt comes from. So there you go.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
I think you said that Usain Bolt went to the same school that my eldest sister went to.
Oh wow!
So obviously a lot later in time, but yeah.
Great.
Strong up in that country.
Yeah. So you left at 8. Do you remember much before, during that 8 years?
Yeah, I remember little bits of things, because I say my mother left. Oh, everybody. My mother left 65, so I was about 5 years old. And then the rest of my siblings left after that. I don't really even remember my siblings, really, apart from my brother, who's next in line to me. I remember him vaguely. The others, I don't remember at all. I was in Jamaica. So I was with my grandmother and her son, so my uncle. my uncle more or less brought me up with my grandmother. So I remember doing things like going with him out to what we call grung, going out to going out to grung, going planting the yams, the peas, and all those kinds of things. He'd take me with him, and obviously, going, collecting mangoes, and when things are in season, doing all those kind of things. I'm being with my grandmother, and just doing things for her. Having to go and get the milk before going to school in the morning. I had to walk for what seemed like miles. It probably wasn't, but to my little legs it was. I'm going to get the milk, coming back with the milk, and then having to go to school.
Wow. So, I mean, those are obviously fabulous years, which you probably didn't know it at the time. When you look back them now, I think those are just fabulous years. So how did you feel about being left behind and the last to join your family? How did you feel about that?
I didn't even really think about it because I didn't know when they'd gone. I didn't know them. They just weren't there. The only one that I knew about leaving was when my brother left, the one that was next in age to me. So when he left, I remember I cried. I cried for days.
All right. Okay.
When he left. But I don't, it's funny this, I don't think I so much cried because he was going. I cried because he was leaving me with all the duppies on my own.
With all the duppies?
Yeah. I had nobody with me, so he was going and leaving me with all these duppies by myself. So I remember him going. So I felt bad when he went, because it was just like he was my brother and we used to run around and do everything together.
So when you came to England, then it was quite something to come and meet a lady that you don't really know, which was your mother. And how did you feel?
Yeah, that was it. I can't even remember how I felt on that one, but it was just the journey from Jamaica to here was kind of like you just go into England. That's all. That's all we're told. You go into England and you're dressed up, giving you a little suitcase, and you put on an aeroplane, and off you go. I didn't even think about who was coming to meet me at the other end.
Right.
And then obviously got to Manchester Airport, and Mum was there. I didn't know if she was. I was just handed over from stewardess to somebody else. It could have been anybody. I could have been handed to anyone. I would not have known any different, because I didn't know who my mother was. I didn't recognize. I didn't know my mother.
Yeah. So why were you the last one? Is there any reason for that?
So I was the last one. That's the story. I was the last one because the kids went in stages, in age group stages. So my older sisters, they went first, and then it got down to my brother, who was before me, and he went. But then, as far as my dad was concerned, this is what I've been told, that was it. He had all his kids with him, if you know what I'm saying. He had all his kids with him. This other one that was left out in Jamaica wasn't his responsibility.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Wow.
So I was left out there with my gran and my mother, sort of sending things to my gran to look after me. And then apparently my gran wrote to my mother and said, "Oh, I think you better take this boy over, because now this is a bit conflicting, because my sister said no, it didn't go like that, but this is what my mother said. My gran wrote to her and said, you better take this boy because he's playing with the birds, basically, because he's got no siblings, no other kids to play with. So he's out playing with the birds in the streets, so you better take him over. Right. So as a result of that, my mother decided, well, she's going to have to get me and bring me here, which my father wasn't willing to help with.
Wow.
So she was working, and she had a friend, another Jamaican lady, a friend of hers, and her husband had deposited some money with a travel agent in Kingston to bring somebody else over, but they weren't going to use it. So so she said, "Oh, I'll ask my husband if you can use that money, and then you can sort of pay him back as and when you can." So that's what my mother agreed to do, and she did that. Hence, I got the money to come over. She got the money for me to set it up for me to come over, and she paid it back that way. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. I probably would have still been sat in Jamaica for a long time.
Really interesting story in that you came here. I don't know whether your father knew you were coming, but listening to your conversations. So really, what happened next then?
Oh, he knew I was coming because my mother told him I was coming, and she told him that he was going to go to the airport because a friend of hers took her to the airport, drove her to the airport to get me.
Yeah.
So she came and got me, took me back Sunday. It was I remember it definitely, a Sunday. Got back, walked in the house. Everybody else is there. The rest of the kids are there. Again, I don't know them. I'm just walking to this room of people. My father was sat there eating his dinner. Just sort of, my mother said, sit a boy there, and and he just looked at me, didn't respond, just looked at me, carried on eating his food.
Wow.
So I don't even think throughout my time he really ever exchanged a proper conversation with me throughout my the time. I mean, he was a quiet man anyway. I'm not going to sort of. He's not with us anymore, but I'm not going to sort of knock him down and say he was a really terrible man, because he wasn't. But he could have been better.
I understand.
But he was a quiet guy anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you ever feel acknowledged by him as father son, or was that not ever?
No, because I don't think he had that kind of relationship with, as far as I know, the others either. Like I say, it was kind of a quiet guy, father-son relationship, definitely between me and him. It was never any of that, father. Because for me, father-son relationship is you try and have a contact with your kids, and you try and teach them things that that can probably put them in good stead for their later life, etc., etc. And there was none of that. He never took me anywhere. Never went anywhere with him.
Really?
Never did anything practical with him. Like I say, no contact really.
And that's unfortunate, but I don't think you're on your own there. There are a lot of other youngsters that could probably say the same thing about their childhood experience. So I don't think you're on your own. So schooling then, what was that like? Did you went straight to school, and what was that experience like?
Yeah. Schooling went straight to school. Edliston Road School was the first school that I went to, and that was because it was late in the year when I got here. So we were coming into autumn, winter time. It was quite cold. So that was an experience. That was an experience going to school. And then you get there and they tell you you've got to wear short trousers. That was the other one, because the legs were cold. I was cold.
Yeah.
So I get to school and then I've got to see all these people. And bear in mind, when I left Jamaica, I had no concept of black people and white people. Do you know what I mean?
It was just black people, right?
It was just, all people. And so I had no concept. So I go to school and there's obviously white people.
Yeah.
And they're there. And it's like, oh, okay. But then you start seeing different things of different people. But the school in itself was okay. Teachers were fine. Teachers tried to sort of get you accepted and integrated and with everything. I remember the first time a teacher asked me to do something, and I did it, and she then praised me for doing it, and I thought, oh, you know, oh, this is good. Nobody's ever praised me for doing anything before.
All right.
So yeah, she said, just do this, whatever, and I did it. And she's like, oh, really well done, oh, really well done, Alvin, well done. You know. So that was okay, but then you start making friends, don't you? And the friends I were making were white kids, because there weren't that many black kids.
All right.
In the school, and certainly not in my year. So there was only a few of us in my year group. So I was making friends with the white kids, and then we ended up in this like stupid little gang, if you call it, a gang of 8, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, with a leader of the gang. This was typical 60s English school kind of thing, because I've never seen such a thing out in Jamaica anyway, because it just didn't see that, kids ganging together like that. There were good kids and bad kids, yeah, but never gangs of kids. So, but the school in there was okay. I can't say anything really terrible happened at school.
Did you stay in the same school for all the time for that? Or did you go to another school as a senior?
Yeah, so junior school was Edliston Road Junior School. So we went there for what, until 10, wasn't it? So you moved on at age 11. And then we went to Bedford Street Secondary Modern School for boys.
For boys? So went to a boys' school?
Yeah. So this is, I don't know what it was like in the other parts of the country, but comprehensives hadn't really come into being then. They were starting to come in. But where we were, they still had boys' school, girls' school, grammar school, boys' grammar, girls' school, girls' grammar. So they still had them. They didn't have comprehensives at the time.
Yeah. And talking about grammar school, then, there's this bit about you deliberately failed your 11 plus, or because you didn't want to go to grammar school.
Well, that was to do with the gang of boys. So we had this one guy who deemed himself a leader of the gang, don't know why, and he said to the rest of us, right, we're not going to pass this 11 plus exam because we're not going to grammar school with all those toffs. We're not going to grammar school. None of us want to go. We all want to stay together and go to the same school. So, right, none of you are going to pass this 11 plus exam, right? So I was like, yeah, okay, good idea. There's a couple of things with this idiotic gang thing. It's like, right, none of you are going to pass. All right, okay. So I went there into this 11 plus exam. I can see the papers now, looking at me. And I'm sat there and I'm looking at these papers and look at the questions and thinking, oh, they don't look that difficult. You know, it was like adding the maths one. I can remember the maths ones: add, subtract, long divisions, and that's what it was. But I just looked at them, didn't do any of them. Wrote my name down and just didn't do any of them. Just left it. And of course, you know, that's a fail, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was mission achieved for not going to grammar school. Oh, that had another thing as well, because I mean I like singing, and we had an audition for a choir, same at junior school as well. And again, this guy was like, right, none of us we don't want to go into choir. None of us want to go into choir, right? So So we had to go out, and the teacher played the note on the piano, and you had to give the la to go with it. Right? So I just went, ah.
Oh, because of what this lad had said.
Yeah, deliberately because what this lad had said, because he said none of us know, we don't want to be in that choir, right? So none of us are going to go through it, because we had to go one at a time to the piano. So they give us a note and we had to give it back. So again, peer pressure rubbish, wasn't it? So
interestingly, then, what happened to that lad? I mean, all of you did you sort of graduate together? Did you stay together for the rest of the?
No, I don't know what happened to him, because when we moved on to senior school, he just disappeared. I don't even know if he moved or what. Don't know what happened to him.
Interesting.
Well, a few of us did go on to the same school, street boys' school.
Yeah.
But again, there, because I assume it's because of the 11+ results, right? They streamed you into a class, so you had A, B, C, D, A being the highest, and as it goes downwards. So I got streamed into a D stream.
Wow.
So I'm in this D stream class, and I spent about 2 years, I think. And I'm just, the teacher's giving us work to do, and I'm just like doing it, knocking it out of the park with his work. And eventually, I think after about 2 years, he came and he said, right, I'm going to have a word with, must be like the head of department or whatever it is. You have to have a word with him, because you shouldn't be in this class. I'm going to have to get you moved into another class. So that's what he did. He went off, spoke to somebody, and I got moved into a higher class. But by then it was too late, because I was almost coming to the end of the school.
So when did you? That's amazing. When did you learn that your decision to go ahead with the leader of the gang was a bad? When did you learn that?
Well, I was trying to get things in later life with them, thinking, oh my gosh, if only. I mean, I don't know if I would have passed it or not.
No. But
fact is, I didn't give myself the chance to pass it.
Also, by the teacher recognizing your good work, meant that you spent 2 years in the wrong class.
In the wrong class, where I could have been learning even more.
Quite a lesson. So, did you know what you wanted to do when you left school, or before you left school?
No. I knew I wanted to do something kind of like practical, because my uncles all had trades. My father had a trade. He was a stonemason, as they call it. Probably just call it a brickie over here, because he had all the tools. So my father had a trade. My uncles had a trade: joiners, bricklayers, etc. All my uncles had. So I wanted to do something that was practical. So if I'd have got work as joiner, electrician, anything along those lines, that's the sort of thing I would have wanted to go into.
But I guess you didn't.
No, I didn't, because when I went looking after leaving school, but because of things at school, my qualifications when I left school weren't that great. But they were giving out apprenticeships in various places. Now, Crewe is a big railway town, and it's Rolls-Royce manufactured in Crewe. Rolls-Royce Motors, Rolls-Royce Bentley Motors. So they're the big employers in Crewe, or they were at the time. So kids leaving school either went into either of those schemes, apprenticeships, etc. And I went for one with British Rail Works, because they made all the rolling stock and everything for the trains in Crewe. So it was myself and another black guy, and was it 3 of us black and 2 whites, and there was 3 positions, and the 2 whites and 1 of the black guys got the position for an apprenticeship. I thought, well, law of average don't really make that work, but hey ho, that's what they've decided. So that was that. So then I was looking for work still, and then I went to the job centre, and they sent me to Crewe Theatre, which was literally around the corner.
The theatre?
Yeah, Crewe Theatre was literally around the corner from the job centre, and they were looking for an apprentice joiner. And I thought, yeah, that's good. You know, that's what I want to do. So I took the job card and I went round to the theatre, knocked on. Guys that are in there looked at me like I was something else. What do you want? I said, I've come with the job card to get the job. And straight away, they just looked at me and said, the job's gone.
Wow.
And I went, oh, but no, job's gone. So I went, oh, right, okay. So I took the card back to the job centre and said, oh, they said the job's gone. And they were like, what? I said, the job's gone. And he said, no, it hasn't. You know, the car's not long come in. You're the first one that's gone round. So that was that. Didn't want to give me a job, did they?
Clear message. A clear message there then.
Clear message, yeah, clear message. Didn't want to give me the job. And then I went to another one. They sent me to a garage, a mechanic again, to be a mechanic. And same thing happened there. Guy, no, was not having me there.
Just one look at you and he didn't want to know.
Yeah, just one look. No, basically, job's not for you. So off I went. And then I spent a couple of months. They brought out this government training scheme, didn't they? Called toffs or yachts or something stupid. I can't remember.
YTS, probably YTS, yeah.
Top. So anyway, it was at college. So I spent like 6 months at college doing a motor vehicle engineering course. At college, no guarantee of a job after it. But it was the government's way of reducing unemployment figures.
Yeah.
So I did that, which was good because it got me an insight.
How long was that for?
6 months.
Okay.
That was 6 months. So that was good because it got me an insight into doing engineering stuff, you know, working with on the lathe and welding and all that kind of stuff. So it got me into that side. But yeah, again, no job at the end of it. So came out of that same situation. Nobody wanted to give you any work.
Wow. So
by this time, I'm like about 17 and a half or something like that. And I'd looked at the Air Force before, and I thought, oh, okay, because I'd always had an interest in aeroplanes. Always.
Oh, right.
Even from when I was out in Jamaica. I'll tell you the story when I was out in Jamaica as a kid. And all I used to hear about was these plane crashes. So that's all I used to hear was flight from wherever, it's crash flight. And these things used to fascinate me. It's like, right, okay. And then I found in our yard one day this piece of metal thing. And for some reason, I convinced myself it had fallen off an aeroplane. And landed, and I kept this piece of metal thing. And it was like, you know, the head off a vacuum cleaner. I don't know why, because we didn't have any vacuum cleaner. It was like the head off a vacuum cleaner, you know, the bit that picks up that sticks on the hose. And
yes.
It was a metal thing that looked like that. And I kept it, convincing myself it had fallen off an aeroplane that was flying over. Kept it for ages. So anyway, so I looked at this at the Air Force then, and I didn't tell anybody I was considering the Air Force. I just took myself off to Hamley, and that's where the CIO was in Stoke, Hamley.
Yeah.
Took myself off to the CIO there. Told them
that's a Careers Information Office.
Yeah, Careers Information Office there. I told them I wanted to join. So sat the test for it, and they came back and said, yeah, okay. At the moment, what we can offer you was GD or regiment.
So that's general duties and the Royal Air Force Regiment. Yeah.
General duties or RAF regiment. I said, what's GD? I said, oh, it's like a labourer, blah, blah, blah. Nah, don't want to do that. What's RAF regiment? It's like a soldier, etc. Yeah. I said, do you have to go to Ireland? And he said, yeah. They went, nah, don't want that. So, no, I didn't say. I said, no, I don't want that. I said, my mother wouldn't like it. so he said, tell me what he says. Okay, well, I'll come back in a year's time then, and we'll see. Do the test again, and we'll see if there's anything else that we can offer. So I went away then. So that would have probably been about 78. Yeah, roughly 78 or something like that. So I went away, still looking for a job, and then I got this job working for this company exporting lime to Venezuela. Right? Really? Yeah. So what these guys had to do, or what they had me doing, was 1 ton bags of lime. Right. So the lime came, and it was blown out the tanker into these huge silos, and then I had to get the lime out these silos by pulling the handle, and the lime drops into these 1 ton bags that were waiting underneath, and filled up, and then shift off, another one, shift off. But I remember it was hot, it was summer. I didn't do it for long. It was hot, it was summer, and the lime dust was coming back up out the bag. And it was, you know what lime does, don't you? It burns.
All right.
On my hands, I was wearing gloves, rubber gloves, which makes your hands sweat in the summer. The lime dust was coming up, going into my gloves and burning my hands. So I would end up with lime burns all on my hands. And
really?
Yeah, and on my fingers. And I was doing that for about 4 months in the summer. It was horrible. It was, I think about it now, it was just awful. Wow. It was just, yeah. Wow. I say mixed lime and water, caustic, you know.
Yes.
Will burn you. So that was the worst thing I ever did.
So no real health and safety then?
No, not really. They gave you a mask, one of these masks you put over, and some paper suit thing, but it's dust. It's going to get everywhere, isn't it? It's going to get into it. So, you know, you really should have had like a sealed suit.
Yes.
But no, I ended up with a hell of a lot of lime burns.
Right. So it didn't stick that for too long then?
No, didn't stick that for too long. So then I got a job at working on Crewe Station as a leading railman dealing with their parcel post. Now, at this time, now I'm 18, and they've given me a job as a leading railman. So you had the systems where it was a railman, a leading railman, senior railman, so on, station master, as it went up.
All right.
So they gave me, an 18-year-old, a job as a leading railman, which effectively is a supervisor.
Wow.
And I went there with all these guys that are old sweats. These guys, you know, this is 1980s, so some of these guys had been in the war and all kinds of things. And I'm supposed to be supervising them, which didn't work. It didn't work because they were just like, what? You know, young boy. There was only one guy there. This big, looked like big daddy, this guy. He was a nice guy, but huge. And he sort of took me under his wing and said, come on, I'll look after you, which was good of him. And he said to me after a while, he said, you don't want to stay here. He said, you don't want to be here. He said, it's not a job for a young lad like you working here. Get yourself off and get something else. Go and do something else. So that's what I thought, right, you know what, I'll go back to the Air Force. So again, I didn't tell anybody. I just thought, right, let me go back to the CIO. So I went back to the CIO, retook the tests again, and again they came back with the same things, but this time they threw in telegraphist.
All right.
So I went, ooh, what's that? So I explained it. I thought, yeah, quite like the sound of that. Because again, they sort of said, you're doing all these things, you're involved with signals, you're involved with all these equipment, there's a bit of maintenance involved, first line maintenance involved in it. So yeah, I can do with that. So yeah, so signed up again. Didn't tell anybody. Just didn't tell my mother. Didn't tell anyone. Just signed it and went back.
Oh, of course, because you were 18 at the time. You could see.
So I was 18. So I just went back. Said right, joining the Air Force. And that was it.
So what did they say? What was the expression from your mother and well, father was a bit quiet, I suppose, as always.
Oh, well, Dad wasn't there then. My mum and Dad had divorced by then.
Okay.
Father had left and gone away. So my mother didn't really say anything. My sister was she'd been in the army. So
really?
My sister, yeah. So my older sister had been in the army. She joined the army in 74. So she was in the army from 74 to 76, I think. She did 3 years. So 74, 77, yeah. She did 3 years. So she'd been in the army. But no, I fancied the Air Force. I didn't fancy the army.
Yeah.
Because the army upset me. The army upset me when I was about 11 years old, the Army Cadets, because Crewe is Cheshire. So the big thing was Cheshire Regiment. Yeah, so all the guys in Crewe and stuff tend to join the army, the Cheshire Regiment.
Okay.
And they were all at they used to go to a cadets. There was a cadets, Army Cadets, near to where we lived. So the guys would go down there, and I went down with my brother and his friends one cadet meeting evening. And they hadn't joined. They were just going to see if they could join and do whatever. So I went with them all to go and join, thinking I could join as well. And this guy says, this army guy says, "Oh, you've got to be 13. So I'm like, yeah, right, okay. So then he got them all in the hall, in the drill hall, lined them all up. And he'd already knew that I wasn't 13. So he went, he lined them all up, and I lined up with my brother and his mates as well. And he came along, found me, dragged me out, and absolutely bawled me out of that room. And I left the place crying.
Really?
At 10 years old, this guy, an adult, giving me absolute shame in front of my brother and all his friends because I wasn't 13. You know, I told you I'm supposed to get out.
Oh
I hated the army. I hated the army after that. And I hated the army after that. And the Navy wasn't a question because I thought, I'm not a brilliant swimmer, so I'm not going to. There's only one guy in Crewe that I know that joined the Navy. Everybody else was heading for the army.
Right. Very interesting.
And, you know, I'd also seen Ricky Moore.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so I'd also seen Ricky coming home on leave whilst he was still in training, because Ricky lived on the street at the back of mine, so our house backed onto the same alleyway. And as I used to play cricket and stuff in the park with Ricky, I'd see Ricky coming home on leave.
My cousin Ricky.
Yeah, your cousin Ricky. Yeah. And I thought, oh yeah, it looks smart. It looks yeah. So I thought, yeah, that'll do for me. Incidentally, Ricky was in the same trade as well.
Okay, so what was it like? You spent 6 years, I believe. So what was that like then? That 6 years or 6 years?
It was a good 6 years for me. Training was good. Usual stuff. You know, you're going to go through training, trade training at Cosford. That was good. Nothing untoward. I had no bad experiences. Just really made a load of friends. Really.
Did you get overseas?
Yeah, I went to this Cottesmore was at Treble T Tri-National Training Establishment, and in Cottesmore, that was the first posting. And because it was not RAF, it was Tri-National, you had to stay there for 3 years, which was bad. That was bad. I could have done with going somewhere else. But I had to stay there for 3 years. But then I got a posting after that to Bruggen, to Germany. And did a detachment from Germany to the Falklands. I did my 4 months in the Falklands in '85.
Okay.
In '85. Luckily, it was a summer 4 months. So it was August to December of 85. So it was a good time. Didn't have to suffer any of that cold, any of that cold weather down there.
Yeah. So is you decided to leave then? Was there any particular reason why you decided to leave, or you just felt?
Yeah, I think I've got an aversion to being shouted at. Because I've gone through my Air Force career, everything hunky-dory, everybody's nice, and you know, even when I did something that wasn't that I shouldn't have done, nobody shouted at me or anything. That came and stuff. Oh well, you know, sort that out. We'll do that. We'll do that. You know, do that. Blah, blah. So I'm coming into the end of my 6-year sign-up period because I'd signed for 6. And I'm thinking, shall I sign for 9 or 12? Still thinking about it. And then I got charged for not doing a bull night.
Really?
I think it was ridiculous. So I got charged. Got in front of the flight lieutenant or whatever on this charge. Didn't do the bull night. There was reasons why, but didn't do this bull night. Ended up with him. Got a fine of £25 from him. Blah blah blah. And then he says to me, "Right, go and see the station warrant officer." So went off to the station warrant officer. We got into his office. That's obviously, you know, I'm stood there to attention from this man who proceeded to bawl me, absolutely bawl me out over not doing a bull night.
So a bull night, for the purpose of those who don't know, is ensuring that your bed space or the room that you live in is actually ready for inspection, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So it was to clean the room. My room was always clean anyway. So it was to clean the room, but also to clean, extra duties outside the room in the block. And you were allocated a job in the block. So you're either cleaning the toilet area, cleaning the corridors, however. The job I should have done was the toilet area, but I wasn't there. So, but the guy in charge didn't know I wasn't there, but I wasn't there. So he allocated me the job and they did the block inspection and found that this area hadn't been cleaned. So the warrant officer is absolutely tearing me off, right? And all the time I'm stood there, I'm thinking, I want to punch you. I'm thinking, I want to punch you. And I'm thinking, you wouldn't speak to your own child the way you're speaking. That's all that's going through my head is you would not be speaking to your own child the way you're speaking to me. And it wasn't like I did something deliberately. It was just the circumstances that I missed this bull night. So I thought, you know, at the end of it, I walked out of his office and thought, no, I'm not going to sign on for anymore because if I'm feeling that now, if this ever happens again, I could be in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, so I decided not to sign for anymore.
So why the police then when you left? You joined the police?
So I had several thoughts that it was like fire service, prison service, police, because obviously those things are sort of put you away, aren't they, when you're looking at resettlement?
Yes.
Giving them those are the kinds of things that you know they actually give you courses of how to actually get into these jobs. And one of the guys one of the corporals I worked with when I was at Cottesmore, when he left, he joined the prison service. So I thought, oh, maybe the prison service might be a thing. But again, people upsetting me puts me off things and makes me annoyed. Before I was home on leave once, and one of my friend's brothers was unfortunate enough to be at Her Majesty's pleasure in a local establishment, and his mother has gone to visit him. So I was at home, and I'm in my BFG registered car, British Forces Germany, for anybody who don't know. And he says, "Can you give me a lift to go and pick my mum up from this prison?" So I said, "Right, okay." So we drove up there, and now must be all the visitors gone because the car park's empty, and I don't really know where I'm going. So we drive onto the car park, looking for his mum. Where's his mum going to be? Drive onto this car park and sort of looking around. We're sort of looking around. Next thing, guy comes running out of prison with dogs.
No.
Police car comes rolling up, and they come out. What you doing here? What you doing here? And all this kind of business. We've come to pick his mother up. She's here visiting her son, his brother. And again, they had a go at me. Now I'm assuming it's because obviously the car, BFG plates, they don't know what it is because it's not UK registered place, would it? And this was. So I went mad. I just lost the plot. Who do you think you're talking to?
Really?
Yeah, I went when the cop was like, the police officer was there, and he was going, oh well, they've got to come and check, and they've got to check these things out. And I was like, yeah, but who brought a dog out? I brought dogs out. There's two of us. Who do you think? What do you think they are? And do you think they are? Who does he think he's talking to? I said, not just some bloody villain off the street. I'm in the Air Force. Look, it's like, there's my ID card. Idiots. So my parting gesture to him was, I was thinking about joining you a lot when I left the Air Force, but I'm not now. So that was it. That put me off that one. So I thought, no, I'm having nothing to do with these kind of people. But so the police service was because my brother, he was a bit of a fighter. My brother didn't take no nonsense from anybody. Still doesn't take nonsense from anyone. So he told me a tale that they used to go out in Chester because we lived in Crewe, so it was close to Chester. He used to go out in Chester, and they were out in Chester one time, him and his friends, and they got into a fight with all these white guys. And the police came and arrested him and took him into the police station in Chester. And he said when he got in there, he thought, right, well, this is it. I'm just going to get a really good kicking off the police. And he prepared himself for it. And then he heard police officer coming to his cell. And he thought, right, okay, here we go. This is it now. I'm going to get an absolute leathering. But he didn't, fortunately. And I thought, well, that's not right. You shouldn't be feeling that when you go into a police station. So I thought, you know what? If he had gone into that police station and he'd seen a black face police officer, would he have felt the same way? And I thought, maybe, he wouldn't. He probably would have felt a bit safer. This wouldn't have happened to him. I thought, you know what? Yeah, I need to be in that kind of situation to possibly give that feeling to somebody else who might be feeling that or be in that situation. So
very commendable for you to think like that at the time. Really,
that was one of the reasons.
Wow.
Why I decided to use the police service.
Wow. So you joined the police. I don't know how hard it was or easy in comparison, but probably because your background in the Air Force, you might find it easy or whatever. 26 years. Wow.
Yeah. It was easy, and some of it was difficult. The training bit of it was easy because I was thinking, well, you guys don't even know, you're only playing it, trying to be disciplined. You haven't got a clue. So that side of it was easy. The actual police work was difficult to start with because obviously you're trying to get to grips with stuff. You're with your tutor, and when I was after I'd finished with my tutor constable, because you tutored you get 2 years probation, and then you tutored probably for about 6 months, your first 6 months on the street. When a tutor had finished, she said that our inspector told her to give me a hard time.
No, really?
Yeah. She said, oh, inspector, whatever, told me to give you a hard time. It's like, did he? I didn't say anything. Just thought, all right, did he?
Didn't you ask why?
No, didn't ask why. Wasn't because I wasn't bothered, because if she did give me a hard time, it didn't work. So
okay.
I was not bothered at all. I just went, oh, did he? So I said, yeah. Okay. And that was it. I just got on with my stuff.
Why do you think she told you that?
I think she probably told me because she probably felt it wasn't right that I'd said that. Why give you a hard time more than anybody else? Why say give you a hard time in comparison to anybody else?
Very interesting.
But when I was at Longside Police Station in Manchester, and at that time, I think there were only black police officer was me.
Really?
There were a couple of Asian, or a few, probably 4 Asian officers, a couple of mixed race officers, but the only actual black one was myself. There were no others. So,
in the duration of your 26 years?
No. Just when I got there.
All right. Okay.
Obviously, years went on. More people came, but it was it was difficult because I was getting it from both sides.
Yes.
So I was getting from black people and from white people.
Yes.
And it was more the younger black people that was giving me the hard time, not the older one. Because I remember going out on patrol, on foot patrol, walking my beat, and I set off walking my beat, and I'm walking down the road, and I see this car full of Rastafarians coming towards me, and I thought, all right, here we go. And there's traffic lights there, and I know the car's going to stop because the light's on red, and I've got to walk past them. So I braced myself for the abuse, but there wasn't any. The guy wound the window down. All he did is put his head out the window and said, "Great, well done. It's nice to see."
Really?
Yeah, and then they carried on.
Wow.
And it was like,
amazing.
That was a turning point, because it was like, oh, right. It's not
amazing.
Black people that's in the cops. Well, I did get it, like I say, from the younger ones who were usually of the criminal element anyway.
Yes.
They give you a hard time, calling you down with your coconut, all this kind of stuff. But, it was these guys who I expected to get it from, because if anybody's going to give it you, these guys are hardened, their culture and everything else, saying you shouldn't, all that stuff. I thought I was going to get it from those guys, and no, they were quite pleased to see a black police officer.
Wow.
Which goes back to the other thing that I said about my brother and seeing a black officer, because they probably saw me and thought, yeah, here's somebody who's probably not going to treat us in a particular way if they ever have to deal with us. So it's nice to see that there's a black face, somebody I can relate to, kind of thing. So, yeah, that was
really
good.
Okay
for me. Even because after that, I went, after doing my initial time on so I did 5 years on the beat, and I went into traffic. And again, I was the only black officer in the whole of Greater Manchester that was the traffic unit. And that, at the time, I think there were about 8,000 officers. And in the traffic department, there would have been over 200 officers. I was the only black one.
Wow.
So, yeah, everybody got to know me.
Yeah. I mean, wow, that's very interesting. So your overall experience in the police force in regards to recommendation of a young boy or girl who wants to join the police, what would you say?
Then I would say, great. Now, I'm not so sure. Not because of the way things are, but just because, well, it is because of the way things are. Because now the work is a lot harder, and they expect a lot more out of you, or out of the service, with a lot less people.
Okay.
So they're expecting more of the same with less. And it's a very, very stressful. Now, looking at it, I probably now wouldn't join with the information I've got now, but I would join when I did in '89.
Yes.
From '89 to 2000 was just great. It was brilliant. We had a lot of laughs, and people say about racist police officers, etc. Yeah, of course they are, because they're people. So there are racist police officers. I mean, when I first started, I heard things, but because I first started, I couldn't say anything, or felt I couldn't say anything. I heard people referring to people as coons and other derogatory things, but they'd say it in conversation to somebody else, not realizing that I'm there. Then they'd turn around, see me, and it'd be, that kind of reaction. But I wouldn't say anything. They'd give that kind of reaction, and then they'd go off. But I was young in service then, so still sort of finding my feet. But after that, they just wish they hadn't said that kind of stuff around me, because anytime anyone even hinted at saying anything, they just got it straight away. They got it, they got it back at them.
Don't upset Alvin.
Yeah, and they all knew it, so they definitely, if they thought, they'd never ever come out and say anything.
Respect.
I used to ram it down the throat with everything. I used to tell them, I'm a Jamaican. I'm not English. I'm a Jamaican. And they used to get it wherever, whatever. It's lightest opportunity, they would get told.
Oh my God. I love
that. So yeah.
I love that. I must go back and commend you again for the reason you joined. And I hope that there was an effect by somebody seeing that, somebody of color seeing you there and felt, the way you felt that they should be felt, when they walk into a police force, because it's all somebody like that, So
yeah, it's all about things. And this is an incident with some youngsters, mixed race, black youngsters, and I would treat them differently to the way the white officers deal with them. Sent them away. I mean, I used to speak to the kids when I was walking my beat. A couple of young lads, it didn't work with them, unfortunately. I used to see them, and they were cheeky young kids living on an estate. They used to come and say, "Oh, Officer Salmon," and a bit of a banter between them, and we'd have a chat. And I'd say, just keep going to school, keep doing what you're doing, blah blah blah. But it didn't work with them. I think they were a lost cause, because one of them ended up being the big leader of a huge drugs gang in Manchester. Ended up killing people, shooting people, and all sorts. And he's now doing something like 44 years or something.
Wow.
Prison.
In life, you can help some people, and you do help some people. But there's some people.
But for me, as long as you give them that opportunity, especially these kids that are disadvantaged, not because of what they do, but because of the color of the skin.
Amazing.
You should always try and help them out.
So in your time then, you did a bit of travel in the Air Force. Did you do any traveling around in the police, or did you stay in Greater Manchester?
No, just stayed in Greater Manchester, because you tend not to go anywhere else unless you move and get to a different branch or regional branch or something like that. So, no, just stayed policing around Manchester.
So have you given up on traveling now, or are you now ready to do a bit of jet setting in your later years?
Jet setting? I don't know about jet setting. I don't know about jet setting. No. I would like to go to Vietnam. That's one of my goals things, because I've got this weird interest in war years. It's just like the world wars and conflicts and things.
Well, that's interesting.
So I'd like to do a trip to Vietnam and visit the sites of the conflicts and and things like that.
Really, that's really interesting.
That's one of the things I'd like to go do. I mean, we traveled around most of Europe. Been to America and all the rest of it. Got family there. But
what about the Caribbean? Have you been back?
Yeah, been back to Jamaica several times.
Okay.
Like I say, my eldest brother, he never came over here, so he stayed there. He died a couple of years ago, but he stayed out there. When my mum retired and everything, she built a house out there. She went back out there, but unfortunately that didn't last, and she had to come back. She went to the States and then she came back here. But yeah, we've been back several times.
Right. So you spend your years now just chilling, relaxing, and enjoying.
Yeah, doing what I want when I want.
Yeah, bit of photography.
Doing my photography, going to the gym, playing football. I've played football from I was 9. I've been playing football, and really, I've not stopped.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
So, because when I came to this country, I was a cricketer. From the West Indies, that's what you do, isn't it? You only play cricket. There was no football going on in them days.
Yeah, I know.
So I was playing cricket, but the guys here weren't really playing cricket. Those alleged friends of mine.
Yeah, well, it's a bit cold, isn't it, for the old cricket? It's cold.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was too cold. But football was the thing. So I got quite good at football. My brother was better than me. He played semi-professionally.
Okay.
Went right through, but it's probably because of him why I never got any better, because he used to shout and put me down because I wasn't as good as him. But I was good enough. I was good enough. I played a couple of section stuff. I don't think I played for the station, but I played for the Force GMP. They had a second team. I played for them. They had a really, really good first team. I played for that second team and played divisional football in the place.
So are you in the senior side now? Are you? Is that or you just senior football?
Well, I can't play 11 side anymore because the knees won't. The lungs will take it, but the knees won't take it.
Oh well, that's good that your lungs can take it.
Lungs can take it all day, but the knees are saying no.
Yeah.
But so I just play like 6-a-side, but I play that twice a week. So for me, kind of evens it out.
That's excellent. That's excellent to be, retired and still doing that kind of level of activity. It's
well, for me, it's a health thing, so I've got to keep it up because I've got type 2 diabetes, so I've got to keep that in my mind. I'm thinking every time I do something physical, it's keeping that blood sugar down.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Alvin, I gotta say thank you very much for taking us on your journey. It's been very interesting listening to you, going all those years from entering this country or even before you came to this country. It's always good to listen to other people's stories because although some of it is similar, there's a lot of it that's quite unique to you. So that's been brilliant. I gotta say thank you very, very much. Have you got any questions for the forgotten generations or about the forgotten generations at all?
No, no questions. I mean, just say it is a good thing that you're doing with this, interviewing people, etc. Because, like I say, it's always everybody's got a story to tell that's come from our generation, and it's good to hear. As for some people, it can be a release. So I think it's a good thing that you're doing because otherwise these things just disappear, don't they? They never get told. They never get told at all. So I think it's good that you're doing this and just getting everybody's side and history down.
Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was an hour or so with Alvin, and I hope you enjoy the time spent and his journey. So until the next time, we're going to say thank you very much. Thanks again, Alvin.
Okay, cheers, Don. Thanks.